Hello, good evening everyone. Myself Atul Garg from Researchum. I welcome you all for today's session at Leadership. Thank you everyone for taking out time for leadership session. For today's webinar, I welcome Dr. Shadma Parveen from UAE as a keynote speaker. She is having more than 13 years of experience in corporate and education industry. She is gold medalist in MBHR from Aligarh Muslim University, certified trainer from Dale Carnegie. So without wasting any time, I welcome Dr. Shadma Parveen to talk about leadership.
Thank you so much, Atul, and a very good evening to all of you. I welcome you all to this webinar, and thank you, Atul, for such a beautiful and wonderful introduction. So, as it has already been told by Atul, that I am presently based in UAE, and I have around 13 years of experience in HR. So, I have been into training, academics, coaching, and HR consultancy. So here I am with you, and today we will be discussing about leadership. And when we talk about leadership, so most of the time we see that people are talking about leadership styles, they are talking about different leadership models, they are talking about what qualities should leaders have, what qualities the leaders in the past they had shown, and what qualities actually really work well in corporate and in any other field. So today I'll be talking about leadership, but I'll not be talking about all these things because I'm sure that you must have heard about all these things a lot. So today I'll be showing you a different kind of leadership, a different phase of leadership. You can say a different style and a different approach towards leadership. So as we all know that leadership in present scenario, it becomes really, really critical. It becomes very important, especially in present COVID conditions, wherein the all of a sudden the situations have become really challenging. So it's like do or die situation for many industries and many professionals. So if we are not able to brush up our leadership skills, if we are not able to become really a competent leader in present time, then we will not be able to survive in future because of the conditions, the market conditions that have been arose by this COVID-19 pandemic. So before I start formally with the topic, I would like to show you a line which I am very impressed from. So effective leadership flows from effectively leading yourself. So when we are talking about effective leadership, the first thing that is important is that we should be able to lead ourselves. Because if you are leading yourself, if you are able to lead yourself, then only you will be able to lead others. If you will be lost, all those who are following you will be lost also. So it's very important that if we want to be an effective leader, it's very important that first of all, we should be able to lead our own life. We should be able to lead our own career. So that our own life, our own career should be in our control, first of all. So with these lines, I would like to start with the topic. And most of you must have heard that when we talk about leadership, we talk about broadly two categories of leadership. The first is transactional, and the second one is transformational. So transactional leadership is like you have set organization, you have set a structure, you have set processes, and you are just following that. So you are just depicting a role which has been set by the management. But when we talk about transformational leadership, so by the way, transactional leadership in present scenario is not at all relevant now. So when we talk about transformational leadership, that is basically the leadership wherein we talk about more of innovation, we talk about more of development. We are not like bounded by the boundaries, we are not like restricted by the rules, regulation, and the guidelines of the organization. But we are open for change, we are open for development, we are open for innovation, and we are open for bringing new additions, new changes in our HR practices, in our organizational practices. That is what transformational leadership is. So I would say that in present condition, transformational leadership is the only leadership style, is the only leadership category which is relevant, and it is going to be relevant, and it is going to sustain its relevancy in near future as well. Now I want a very small exercise from you all. So what you have to do is you have to, I'll just give you 5 seconds for that. You just have to think about one leader. Choose any one person whom you consider as a good leader, from whom you are really influenced a lot, whose personality influence you a lot, whom you consider a good leader. And that it will be really good if you choose someone who is here, like who not in the meeting, but who is existing in present time, not a historical leader. But if you would choose anyone with whom you have interacted in recent past, so just choose any one person. You don't have to tell me the name, but just choose one person. Whatever name comes first in your mind, just choose that one person. Okay, done. So now you have to do one thing. Once you have chosen a leader, your favorite leader or the person who has really influenced you a lot, now if I ask you to describe that person in one word, you just have to tell one word which is going to describe that person. How do you describe that person? So that one quality in that person, or that one word with which a quality is associated, because of which you admire that person, you are highly inspired by that person. So just one quality, and now you have to write that one word in the chat box quickly. Communication, strong personality. Narendra Singh, can you be a bit precise? Like, what do you mean by strong personality? So what is the thing that fascinates you most in the personality of your favorite leader? Courage, reliable, very nice. A good trainer, okay, training skills, good decision making, smart, talented, leadership, a good visionary, intelligence, learning, agility, learner, good communication skills. Very nice. I'm really happy to see the promptness of your responses. Really nice. And with this small determination, very good point, Seema. Very nice. And with this small exercise, I just want to bring your attention to a very important point. Now, each one of you, you have a favorite leader of yours, and you have mentioned one word for that leader, for that person, deep learner. Okay, so you have mentioned one word for that person. That means in every person there are some or the other qualities which attracts or which fascinates others. So we cannot say that there is a set of skills or a set parameter, and you have, if you want to be a good leader, then you have to fit into that parameter. We cannot say that, because so much versatility is required. When you want to be a good leader, there are so many things that you have to learn, there are so many things that you have to show, there are so many behavior that you have to carry, there are so many personality traits that you have to depict, you have to show. So we cannot say that there are certain set of characteristics, 3, 4, 5 skills, and if you just practice those skills, if you just become expert in those skills, then you will become a good leader. We cannot say that, because see, everyone has given a different input, everyone has described his or her favorite leader in a different way, in a different word. So this means that if you want to be a good leader, if you want others to follow you, certainly you need to have a versatility in your skills, you need to have a variety in your skills. So we can say being a good leader means some of these qualities, that you have to be task focused. Very, very important, because if you are not task focused, you will not be able to guide others. Others will not seek guidance from you, actually. So you have to be task focused, you have to have a collegial environment, atmosphere in which you have to take people along. You when we talk about leadership today, so it's not about, it's not about commanding people, it's not about giving orders to others, it is like taking people along. And moreover, it is more like getting along with people. So you have to take everyone along, but at the same time, you have to get along with them. You have to gel properly with your team, you have to gel properly with your staff, with your people. Then only they will accept you as a part of their life, as a part of their goal, and they will accept you as their leader. So it's very important to have a democratic style. So democratic style is like the voice of others will also be heard. So it doesn't mean that if you are the boss, if you are the manager, you are the one who is supreme in skills and expertise and knowledge. There could be any good point coming from a very junior staff of yours. So you should be open to that. Everyone should be heard in your team. Everyone should be getting a chance to speak up their mind, to give their ideas. And this is how a good and effective high performance, we can say high performance work system can be created. You should be able to unify diverse mind. Different people in the team, they are not similar. Even family members are not similar. They have their own different thinking style, thinking pattern. They have their own mindsets. So similarly, in a team, there are different people from different backgrounds. There are different people from different mindsets, different viewpoints. So it's very important for a good leader to get them focused, to unify their diverse minds in one direction. And that is the direction when they follow you. That is the direction when they trust you. You have to be compassionate with your team members. You have to be compassionate with your followers, all those who are following you, all those who are working with you, all those who are working under you. So we cannot say that within a team, someone could be a team leader. And even if there is no such designation, still you will find that in a team, there is one person who is highly trusted by all other members. And he is the one who is like nominated leader by the team members. But for that, it's very important that you have patience to listen to others. You know what? Leadership is all about giving importance to people. When you make people feel important, they will respect you. When you make them feel valued, they will follow you. So it's very important. If you want to be a good leader, you have to practice these two things. The first thing is people should feel heard. They should feel that yes, their voice has been heard by you. And the second thing is they should feel valued. Their emotions, their concerns, their worries, their problems, everything has to be valued by you. Interpersonal relationship, another parameter or another quality that you should have, maintaining one-to-one relations. So just because one person is bad to another person, it doesn't mean that you should have grudges with that person. So two people can be enemy, but both of them can be a good kind of loss. Similarly, in a team, there could be conflicts between the team members, but at the same time, it's very important that you maintain one-to-one relation with your employees, with your teammates, and with your followers. You have to value accountability. Accountability is when you are responsible for your actions. So take the responsibility, take the ownership of your actions, give importance to others, and all these things together make transformational leadership. So now we can see that all the qualities that you people have told, the qualities that you people have highlighted in your favorite leader, in your most, most liked leader of yours, it is a mixture of all these qualities that we have discussed. Or sometimes it is one thing in your personality, like if you have honesty in you. So there could be many people who are just influenced by your honesty. There could be many people who are influenced by your communication skills. So different people, they have different criteria, they have different priority, they have different expectations from their leader. So you have to have a variety of skills if you want to fit into the criteria of an ideal leader of various people. Now, once we are talking about the skills, we are talking about qualities, it's always better to have a criteria, or it's always better to have a framework. So we can say that in order to simplify it for you, I have just made it as simple as possible, and I've just compiled it into these 6 dimensions, into these 6 dimensions, that if you want to build up your leadership capacity, then you have to work on these 6 dimensions. The first one is emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence, we will be discussing it further in the topics. I'll just give you a brief idea about emotional intelligence here. So emotional intelligence is when you are able to understand your own feelings, your own emotions, and when you are able to understand the emotions of the other person. As well as, so on one hand, it is like understanding your emotions, understanding the emotion of others. On the other hand, it is controlling your emotions, managing your emotions, and managing the art of managing emotions of others. So managing your own reactions, your own responses, your own actions, your own behavior. And at the same time, to a greater extent, if you are able to manage the reactions and responses of the other person. So sometimes, doesn't it happen with you that if you know that you have made a mistake, you have committed a mistake at work, So you know very well that the moment you're going to go and report it to your boss will be really furious. You know that. So instead of just going and reporting it, try to report it better. So take the ownership. Take the ownership of your mistake. Do not go and tell boss, or do not wait for the boss to to find your mistake and then call you and ask you. If you have made a mistake, go to your boss and tell him that this is what you did. And you know the impact of this mistake is going to be huge. You are ready to take the ownership and loss of that mistake. And you will see that if you will apply this approach, the second approach, when you are going and you are taking the ownership of your mistake, you will find that the reaction of your boss will be less furious. It will be uh, less bad, you can say. Instead of that, that if you will not talk about your mistake and if your boss will find your mistake and then he will call you, definitely he's going to thrash you back. So sometimes just by knowing the reactions, the situations better, in a better way, we can change the approach. And by changing the approach, we can change the result actually. So, and this can happen in our day-to-day life, this can happen in our corporate life, office, work, anywhere we can apply this approach. So we will be discussing about emotional intelligence later in this session. And self-mastery also I'll be taking up in detail. So self-mastery is when you develop yourself, when you work toward developing yourself, toward improving your own self. Consciousness intelligence. Consciousness intelligence is when you are aware about, when you're conscious about what is happening around, when you're conscious about what is happening with the others also. So it's not about what is happening in your personal life, but if you are leading a team, for example, if you have 3 to 5 subordinates in your team or 10 subordinates in your team, then it's very important that you should be knowing what is happening with them, what is going on in their life. It's not that you start nagging them, but at least broadly you must be knowing that if someone is going through a very low phase or if someone is going through a very bad phase. So your approach to that person should be based on what they are facing in their life beyond the office premises. So consciousness intelligence is when you're conscious about what is happening around, and at the same time, you're also conscious about how your behavior is affecting others. So you should be knowing that if you have been very rude with your team members, how is going to impact them? You should be knowing that if you're very friendly with your team members, how is going to impact that they have stopped taking you seriously. So if you're conscious about the reaction, emotions, responses of others around you, then you will be able to manage them properly, to lead them properly. Next is need or expectation intelligence. Now, this is what actually we did in the short exercise. That every one of the participants, they have highlighted a different like leader because that leader has very good communication skill. Someone said honesty, someone said learning, someone said agility, someone said a good trainer, right? So, you know, what happens is we like a person if, or we are influenced by a person, if the quality that we are looking forward is present in that person. So if you want to develop your communication skills, if you feel that yes, communication skills are very important. So anyone who will be having very strong communication skills, you cannot stop yourself liking that person. You can't stop yourself from being inspired by that person. So different people, they have different needs. And according to their need, they select their leader because they need what they need to develop in themselves the qualities present in that leader. So this is important to find out what are the need of people around you. What do they need? If you have those qualities, if you have those competencies in you, if you are expert in that, definitely they will be influenced by you. So that need and expectation intelligence is very important if you really want to be an effective leader and a very effective influencer. Ownership of mistake is important because your team members will always respect you if you are taking ownership. Your subordinates will always respect you if you're taking ownership of the task, if you're taking ownership. Give credit to your juniors and take the responsibility of mistakes and failures. But do not put the blame on others.
just to play safe. Do not put the blame on of any failure to the other person and do not take the credit. People are not going to respect you at all if you're doing this. They will never be accepting you as their leader. So being a leader, and if you want to take the position of a leader, it's very important that you develop others. So if you are sitting here as a manager, you don't have to rule your subordinates. Try to develop them to your level. Try to teach them whatever you have, whatever you know. And you will find that the moment you will find that your subordinates, your team members have reached to that level, your level has already been increased. So by helping them to learn, you have leveled yourself up. This is how the growth of a good leader is. And they will always respect you, they will always honor you a lot. So these are basically the dimensions that we have to develop, especially in present scenario and especially keeping in mind the future conditions, because the conditions have changed. The change has already happened. We are still thinking that we are going through a change, we are going through the transition, but actually the fact is that the change has already happened. So no matter what, even if this pandemic is going to be over, even if COVID-19 vaccine will be available and the things are back to normal, but things are never going to be back to that state which is used to be 5 or 6 months ago. So if things are going to improve or change, it's going to change from here. So this is going to be the the things are going to take off from here, not from the past. So anyways, the things are not going back. So the change has already happened. So what we have to do is, we don't have to sit now. We don't have to sit and wait for things to go back to normal. Things are not going back to normal. Things are also only going forward. So forward means there will be more changes. This change has happened and this change is going to be permanent now. So the things are changing. So we don't have to prepare ourselves and wait. We don't have to just wait for things go back to normal. We have to prepare ourselves for the future. So future is definitely not only driven by the machines, offices, tasks, workforce and all. The future will be driven by people, because in this situation, organizations have also analyzed and they have also acknowledged that people, knowledge and skills are the most important assets of an organization. So future is going to be more towards people. It's going to be more bright for people who are able to, or who will be able to manage people nicely. So this is the reason why I want to discuss this different approach to leadership. So we have these 6 parameters, and how do we reach to these parameters? By following these 6 approaches, which are very much valid today and in future. So forget about what leadership was or what leadership used to be till now. Now we have to focus on today and we have to prepare ourselves for tomorrow. So the first thing that is going to be of relevance and of utmost importance in future is values driven leadership. Because we have seen that in present scenario, the trust on people have become more important than the attendance log sheets. So now organizations, they cannot look at the attendance and see that whether the person is coming to the work or not. Now they are bound to trust people that they are sitting at their home and they are doing their work. There is no means, there is no way to check whether they are sitting and doing their work or not. Because you can, if you go by login, then you can simply log in and you can go back, go away. So your login time will be there, but you will not be there. Nobody's sitting and doing the work. So now the trust has taken over that attendance system, isn't it? So now the commitment of employees has taken more importance, have become more important than the surveillance. So you cannot do the surveillance with the cameras, that you have put cameras at each and every corner of your office and you are looking at whether the employee is sitting at their place and doing their work or not. Now you cannot do this. So now the only thing is how committed the employee is. So employee commitment has overshined the surveillance system. So this is the change, and this change is going to be there. So now we have to start with the new approaches towards leadership. The first approach is value-based leadership. I will be posting few questions and you just have to write one word answer to them. Okay. The first question is, what do I stand for and why? Okay, leave the why because that is going to be a long sentence. Just write, what do I stand for? So what is that one thing? What is that one thing for which you stand? Like, for example, if I say, I will stand by the truth, always, no matter what, no matter who is involved, but I will stand by the truth. So similarly, just write one word, one thing, one value that you will always stand. You okay? Stand by the commitment. Stand by integrity. Very good. Come on, come on, come on. Fast. Honesty. Myself. Stand by myself. Wow, Ashish. That's a very strong message. Very nice. I'm really happy, guys, to see the promptness of the responses. I really appreciate that. Discipline, truth.
Hello.
Hello. Yes.
How to take ownership for making a mistake at work?
Ownership for taking mistake is that if you are doing something, okay, if you have taken for example, if you are doing a project, if you have taken an initiative, what if it fails? What if there is a mistake? For example, if you are doing online transactions, right, you are doing a financial transaction and by mistake you have done a mistake in the transaction. So take the ownership that whatever are the consequences, I'm really ready to bear. This is my mistake. So there could be two approaches. See, anyways, it is going to come back to you. Your mistake is going to come back to you. So either it will come back as a punishment from the management, or if you yourself you are admitting that yes, I have made a mistake. I know the implications are hard, are bad, and I am ready to bear the losses. So you will find that management will try to give you least punishment. So this is how these situations could be handled. This is how the situation should be handled, because if you are doing something and if you're making a mistake, so the ownership should be yours. That means you are taking the responsibility of your mistake. That is what ownership of mistake is. And also, if you
Okay.
are the team leader, if you're leading a team, if something goes wrong, if any of your teammates have made mistake, do not just put the blame on the teammate that he has done the mistake. If you are the boss, it is your responsibility. So take the ownership. Take the ownership of your team as well. The team will always
Okay.
feel bound to you.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Most welcome. Most welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
So what do I stand for? I'm really happy to see such deep, such you can say very, very valued responses. Empathy, faith, growth of subordinate, trust, gratitude. Very nice. So, guys, that one word that you have written right now, this is something you should never confront. This is something you should never fight with. And this is something you should never confront. You should never contradict. So if you are saying that I will stand by the truth, so never take up a job, never take up a role in which you have to tell lie to people to sell your products, or to sell your services, or to generate the numbers. So there should not be a confrontation. There should not be a conflict between your basic self. This is what you have written. It is one of the characteristics of your core self. Your core self are the deep rooted value system that you have. So if you're fighting with those value system, if you're taking up a job because of XYZ reason, and if you're fighting with your basic system, basic value system, if you're fighting yourself with your own core, that is going to be a real challenge for you. And if you're doing that, you will be lost in that, and you will never be able to lead people because you yourself, you are fighting with yourself, right? So it's very important that you understand your basic core value system, your inner self, and never try to conflict with that. So also try to get into a role wherein you don't have to compromise with your basic values. The second question I want you to take up is, why would others follow me? So now tell me one thing that you think you are best at. Tell me one thing, just one word, which is which is like the main competence that you have, the greatest strength of yours, because of which you feel that yes, people should follow me because of this. So just write one. Confidence. Very good. Good motivator, that's why someone follow me. Very nice. Reliable. Consistency. Positivity. Impressive. Excellence. encouraging, you have sense of responsibility, you are a good problem solver, trustworthy. Good. So you should be having leadership quality. I have very good twinkle, interactive, very nice, because if you are interactive, you're going to have very good relations with others. So these are the qualities, and I want you people after this session just take some time and just try to write 5-6 qualities for this answer, that why should people follow me, why would others follow me. So you have to prepare 2 columns after the session: honesty, interactive, fearless, understand everyone's point of view. Very good. So now you know that you have certain things because of which people should follow you, or they have already been following you. Now after this session is over, whenever you get time, just do one thing. Just prepare 2 columns, write down in column 1 the things or the qualities I have because of which people follow me. That means the things that you are already strong at, right? And on the other column, write the qualities I want to have so that people should follow me. So write 5 skills here in the first column and 5 things on the second column at least. So these 5 things in the first column are those which you have to sustain, which you have to sustain. You have to keep an eye that on these things, nobody should be able to overshine you or outshine you. And the things in the second column, that what should I have so that people should follow me? Those are the skills that you have to work on. Prepare a timeline, put a timeline that I'm going to acquire these things. I'm going to build up these qualities or skills in next 1 year, or during this pandemic, I have to work on these 5 qualities. I have to develop myself on these 5 qualities, on these 5 skills. So sustain the first column and move towards the second column. That is how you can build up your leadership capacity. Now coming to the third question, what will people say about me in my absence? Or what do you want? What do you want? I don't want you to reveal the answers here. So you can just change the question, or just let me paraphrase the question for you. So write down one word that you want people to say about you in your absence. Like, for example, he or she is very cooperative or very helping, perfectionist, okay, good listener, confidence, hardworking, real. Very good, guys. I'm really happy to see the responses and promptness. Very nice. I'm enjoying this session a lot. Trustworthy, soft spoken. Come on, more. Honest, genuine, confident, hardworking, positivity, smart. Yes. So, are you doing all these things right now? So, if you want people, the thing is that if you want people to remember you or talk about you as a good listener, so make sure that you are listening to them right now. So whatever things, whatever qualities you want people to remember you with, do that right now. So make sure that you are doing that right now. So if you want people to remember or to think about your confidence, then be confident. Show your confidence. Wait for tomorrow. Do not wait for the day after tomorrow. Do not wait for the next year to show those qualities. If you want people to know you or to remember you or to recognize you for charity, start doing charity today. Yes, you want people to know you for active and do the smart work, do the smart work. So you should be having a list of qualities that you want people to recognize in you, and you have to practice that. So if you want people to talk to you or to recognize you for the communication skills, develop your communication skills. Show the world what communication skills do you have. And coming to the last question, where am I going? So to this, I don't want you to write the answer here, but you should be clear about, just give it a thought after this session, that am I clear that where I'm going to be, or it's just that I am floating with the wave of time? So am I clear about where I want to be? What is my purpose? I want to start my own business. So every day, am I moving one step at least? Like not a big step, not a big effort, maybe some small efforts, maybe some little thing I have done. But am I continuously moving towards my goal? Am I clear about where I'm going? Because if you are clear about where you are going, You can have people following you. But if you are confused, you don't know in which direction to go, what will happen to those who are following you? They will also be lost. So you should always be facing towards the future, and you should be knowing where you are going. Maybe like we can say that people don't know the destiny. We cannot see the destiny, but at least we can have a vision, we can have a goal that here I want to reach, this is the point that I want to reach. So this particular goal should be very clear, and that should be time bound. It's very important to have a time bound goal. So we can say that yes, I want to start my own business, but maybe in next 1 year, next 2 year, next 5 years, next 10 years. So unless and until there is no timeline to your goal, you will not be able to achieve that. And even if you will be able to achieve that, by the time you will achieve, it will be losing its importance. So it's very important to have a goal and to have a proper timeline for your goal. So how can you do that? If we want to, like keeping all these points in mind, how can we do that? By aligning proper goals, by making credibility. Being a good leader is very important to have a good credibility, and you have to maintain this credibility every day. You have to live your credibility every day. It's not that today you are saying something and tomorrow you're saying some other thing and contradicting your own. So today you are telling your people to be honest, right, in their approach, to be honest with the customer, and tomorrow you yourself are telling a lie to the customer in front of, or to the client in front of your people, in front of your team. So you are contradicting your own versions, you are contradicting your own values. So you have to maintain your credibility and you have to live it every day. You have, being a leader, you have to inspire others the same way that you are inspired by a leader. You should be future oriented, because if you are looking forward, then only you can lead others. You have to be rational in your approach. Emotional factor should be there. You should be able to align the values properly, honesty, and you should be serving others. So this is how a value-based leadership can be created, which is going to be of utmost importance in present time and in future also. Now, how can you create value in your system? So now the question might arise in your mind that how can I implement this in my organization, at my work? So now what you can do is, whatever work you're doing, try to find out the gap between where a people-centered approach or a people-oriented approach is lagging. For example, in your organization, for example, there is a 180-degree appraisal system which is being adapted or which is being practiced, in which only the boss is reviewing or appraising the performance of the subordinate. So now here you think that the parameters for the performance are only uh, based on the performance, on the sales figure, or on the numbers, but there is no parameter, there is no category wherein the behavior could be judged. The behavior of the team members can be recognized, can be appraised, or can be counted for appraisal. So what you can do is, you can have, even if you cannot do it formally in the performance appraisal system, but you can do it informally in your team, so that people will feel, yes, we are encouraging you as a leader, you are encouraging the interaction between the team members. You are a leader, as a leader you are encouraging the importance of people, and you are encouraging the feedback. So these are small practices you can do, you can implement in your work, wherein you can add value to your working conditions and your working system. Now, next dimension that I want to talk about, next approach, is self mastery. Now, if I just want to summarize self-mastery in few words, I would say that watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions because they become your habits. Watch your habits because they become your character. And watch your character because that is going to decide your destiny. So what thoughts you have about yourself and about your subordinates, about your team, that is going to create a lot of impact over your destiny. That means your future career. So how can we implement this self mastery? Because you can be a very effective and very contingent leader if you are very strong from inside, if you have a very strong perspective, if you have a very strong mindset, if you have a very strong if you have a very strong, you can say if you're motivated from inside, then only you can reflect that energy in your conduct. So for that, first of all, it's very important to have peace with past. So whatever has happened, if you have bad experiences, whatever has happened, if you have faced failures, whatever has happened, that has happened. So you should not be living into past. Second thing is that you have to play devil's advocate. Criticize yourself. If you want to improve, if you want to master yourself, if you want mastery, self-mastery, criticize yourself. So tomorrow, if you're going to present, okay, if you're going to give a presentation tomorrow, try to find out as many mistakes in your work as you can. Try to criticize yourself, try to condemn yourself. The more you criticize yourself, the less criticism you will receive from outside. So criticize your own self, criticize your own work, but that doesn't mean that you should start doubting yourself. Don't doubt yourself. Criticize yourself to find out the faults in your work, to find out any mistakes, anything that wrong that you are doing, so that you can improve. Accept your resistance. Very important point. Just to lead others doesn't mean that you should be able to accept anything that is coming your way. No, you should be having a very clearly drawn line. What is acceptable to me? What is not acceptable to me? You should be knowing your resistance. Something which is not acceptable, something which you cannot tolerate, you should never be forcing yourself to tolerate that. So accept the resistance that you have. Break the bystander effect. Bystander effect is the phenomena wherein if there is any problem, everyone is watching and everyone is waiting for someone to go and take the initiative. Do not wait for others. Take the initiative. Even if you will fail, no issues. Even if you will fail, no issues. But take the initiative. If you is going to succeed, people definitely will automatically they will accept you as a leader. So it's very important that especially in non-conventional circumstances, in some problems, it's very important for you to take initiatives. And can't we see it right now? Because this pandemic effect is there for everyone. Certain industries are really badly hit by them, by this condition. But still, people are finding ways. People are finding alternatives. And the one who is finding an alternative fastly, that company or that individual is taking an advantage. So this is what is happening. So whenever there is a challenge, few people look at the challenge as a problem, but at the same time, few will look at the same problem or the same challenge as an opportunity to prove yourself. So do not take every problem or every challenge as a problem. Try to see the challenges from an opportunity point of view. That is, if others are not able to do it, is it that I can do it? Or if somehow I will be able to do this, I will be the leader. I will automatically become a leader. So just break that bystander effect. Cognitive reappraisal is when you yourself, you're auditing yourself, you're questioning yourself, and you are basically you are questioning and you are doubting yourself. Doubting means you are questioning yourself and trying to find out what are the areas where exactly even now you have to improve. You should be knowing your strengths, you should be knowing your weaknesses, and you should be talking to yourself. Now this talk to yourself, self-talk is really very effective. I've been doing it for past many years, and I've really suggest that this is very important. Once in a day, just sit for 5-10 minutes and just think that what you were supposed to do today and what exactly you have done. Especially if you have a clear goal in your mind, just ask yourself every day whether you have taken that small step toward the goal or not. Not a big leap, but even a small step is worthwhile. So just talk to yourself very often. That introspection is very important because that will help you to develop yourself. That will help you to find out what skills in the column B that you still have to work on. The next approach is the innovation and experimentation approach. So innovation in today's scenario, in today's market conditions, this innovation thing has become really experimentation, and innovation has become very, very, very significant. If you have something new right now, you are in the market. If you don't have something new, you will not be there in the market. Right? So it's very important for you to have this innovation and experimentation in present scenario, especially because now you can see that many organizations, they have innovated, they have started offering many new solutions and services. They have started providing different platforms. This is also an example that I am sitting in UAE and I'm conducting a session, and most of the people are from India. I'm interacting with people. Had it been possible if this pandemic was not there? No, because normally any training program, any courses, they were supposed to be like the trainer has to be physically present over there. So now the mindsets have been changed. Now the innovation is taking place. Now the experimentations, different experimentations are taking place. So you should be ready for that. You should be ready for this change. You have to prepare yourself for this change. Innovate at your workplace. Innovate in your work. Innovate in your work that you are doing in your office. Try to find out what else I can do, what changes I can bring about. How can I introduce technology in my work? How can I introduce any changes in my work so that it can become more efficient, it can become more important, and it can become more faster, maybe just faster. So you have to compare your past experiences also, like previously, if you have innovated anything in your organization, how was the behavior of the management? So keeping all these things in mind, you have to prepare a plan for the innovation. And I'm not talking about some radical innovation. That can be small changes in your processes. That can be small changes which just save time, which just save data, which just let you be more efficient, which just connect you properly with the customers, which can open new horizons for you, not only in India but outside the India as well. So it's very important for you to open up your mind and become a very innovative and experimentation oriented person. Plan your experimentation and link it back with the organizational growth. So this is very important factor, because sometimes we suggest certain changes. We think that certain changes could be brought into our system, into our processes. But at the same time, we are not sure, or we fail to prove that how it's going to impact the organization. So it's very important that whatever changes you are trying to bring in your approach, in your process, which you think can build up your leadership skills further, which can prove your leadership skills further. If you want to bring any changes in your work, always link it with the organization, because management is concerned about the organization. Management is concerned about the organizational growth. So always link it with the organization. So if we talk about certain changes, especially in HR, people analytics is something which actually emerged out of it. When we talk about the things like people analytics, it actually emerged out of it how HR and employee related things, employee related practices help to enhance the organizational profitability. So linking an employee behavior with the profitability solve the purpose. And there are many people who have taken advantage of it, and they have become really a leader in people analytics just by their own innovation and their own creativity. So for that, you need to find out what skills are required. There should not be any fear of failure, because you have to take the risk. If you take the risk, people love you. People love those who have the guts to take the risk. You should be learning oriented, but when you're taking risk, do not take uncalculated risk. Always take calculated risk. Next, we will talk about emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence talks about 4 pillars, right? The first 3 pillars are self-awareness. That means you should be aware about yourself, how you are behaving, how you are treating others. So sometimes it happens that you may be talking someone very rudely, but you don't recognize that. So take feedback. If you really want to improve yourself, take feedback. Structured, unstructured, formal, informal, any kind of feedback, but always take feedback from others. The more feedback you take, the more improvement you can do in yourself. Have social awareness of what is happening around, what is happening around, what is happening around in the society. What is like for example, right now there's so much of negativity in the atmosphere. There's so much of negativity among the people that some people, I have seen many people, they have just lost their jobs, they have lost hope, they are very negative, they have become very negative in their approach. So it's very important that you should know that what is happening around you. It's not, leadership is not also like all the time, it's not about leading people or commanding them or just directing them. Sometimes it is compassion. Sometimes it is providing guidance. So you just have to make that connection with your followers. You have to make the connection with the people. If you have a team of 10 people, you are not leading, you are not managing managers, assistant managers, executives, senior executives. You are not managing designations, you are managing people. So do not connect with the designations, connect with the people. Do not coordinate with the designations, coordinate with people. Learn, understand people, understand individuals, understand their priorities, understand their purpose, understand their goals. Everyone who is working towards a goal. They have certain expectations. Unless and until you won't understand those expectations, you will not be able to provide them proper guidance and leading. Then relationship management. So this is what relationship management is, that you have to make a relation, one-to-one relation with your people, with your followers. If you are able to do this, because emotional intelligence itself is a very deep and wide topic, so I cannot talk in length here because of the paucity of time. So I will be talking about I just gave you an idea about emotional intelligence, and I just tell you that how emotional intelligence actually helps can help you as a leader. So it can increase your team performance because you will be able to handle your people nicely. You will be able to understand, emotional intelligence. If you properly follow emotional intelligence, then you can also judge, you can also anticipate what will be the reaction. If I'll say one sentence, what will be the reaction of the other person. If there are 5 members in the team, you can easily depict that what is going to be the reaction of each and every person. So 5 people in a team cannot be controlled, cannot be directed, cannot be led by the same approach. You need to have one specific strategy for each and every one. So every individual requires a different strategy, a different tactic that has to be deployed in order to handle the person. It improves decision making because now if you are making more emotionally intelligent decision, that means you are not only referring to the work, but you are also referring what kind of impact your decisions are going to make on the individual. Not only on a person, not only on a designation, but you are trying to find out what kind of impact your decision is going to make on a person, on that person. So once you are able to find it out, once you are able to figure it out, you make more emotionally intelligent decisions. And when you are making more emotionally intelligent decisions, people respect you, right? People respect you a lot. I can see many questions also here in the chat box. I will be taking up the questions at the end. So it increases your leadership. People respect you. People honor you. If you develop that kind of rapport with your people, they trust you. And after a limit, after some time, after beyond you can say a threshold, they blindly follow you. That is the effect of leadership. That is the power of leadership. That at one point of time, people will blindly follow you, because they trust you blindly. Now that whatever you are saying, that is for their good. You need to have empathy when you're talking about emotional intelligence. You need to be learning oriented and compassion. So when you do all these things, you will be able to establish the 4th pillar of emotional intelligence, that is self-management. So now here you are able to manage yourself. You are able to manage the emotions of the other person. You are able to manage your reactions, and you are able to manage the actions and reactions of the other person. Okay, so basically what we are doing in emotional intelligence is we are being more conscious about our responses. We are not reacting, we are responding. So being a good leader, you should not react to situations. You should not react to actions. You have to respond. Now, very quickly, I'll tell you what is the basic difference between reaction and response. Reaction is something which is immediate. So someone did something, you immediately reacted. Without thinking, without any rationality, someone did one action, immediate reaction. That is what reaction is. Response is when someone has said something, when someone has done something, you take a moment and try to understand Take a moment, just try to imbibe that, trying to absorb what the other person has done. Try to think for a moment and try to find out the reason. Why exactly? So the basic difference between a reaction and a response is in reaction, we are just seeing the action. In a response, we are trying to find out the reason, the why. Once you are able to find out that why factor, you will see that your response will change. So that's very important to be a good leader. Do not react to people, do not react to situation. Try to go one step back and find out where is the why. Where is the why factor of this reaction? Where is the why factor of this action? So that's very important. If you are able to do this, try to practice this, practicing this, and you will find much effective approach it is. So try practicing it. Try converting your reactions into responses, and you will feel the difference in your relationships. Next thing is, I think Seema asked the question. I will take up here all the questions. I'll take up at the end. I have 2 more dimensions to be discussed with you, and then I will be coming to the questions, and we will be discussing your questions. Next important thing is networking. So nowadays, especially since when the COVID-19 has started, people have started doing lots and lots of networking. You will find people connecting with you on LinkedIn, on Facebook. They are sharing information. They are sharing their achievements, everything, and it's really good. It's really good because this particular challenge, this particular threat has given ample opportunities for people around the globe to connect with each other, to know each other. Otherwise, we would never have gone to this level of networking. So we all know that networking is very important, and networking is a very important pillar for a good leadership. It's very good because networking gives you strength, it gives you innovation skills, it helps you getting things done. Because being a leader, you should be in a position, you should have that power, you should have that authority, you should have that networking wherein you can get the things done very easily. You should have those contacts. So it helps you to find out the opportunities also. It keeps you updated about what is happening around, because if you have a very diverse network, you will get information from varied sources, and it actually gives you competence. It makes you competent. You can tap to different pool of talent, you can tap to different opportunities, you can know what is happening around, and that actually adds knowledge, adds value to your profile, and people will be more and more influenced by you because you have become a very strong personality, and you have become a very strong network, or a very strong knowledge base. You yourself have become a very strong knowledge base. So when we talk about networking, is it only about connecting with people? Is it? Or there are different levels? Now, I have a very interesting thing about networking to share with you. When we talk about networking, with networking further can be of 3 types. The first one is operational networking. Now, operational networking is very simple. That is a basic networking, that if you are working in an organization, you have good contacts in your department, and you have good contacts in other departments. You know someone in HR, you know someone in finance. So if you have any query regarding HR, you know whom to contact. If you have anything related to finance, you know whom to call and ask. You know the person in operations. So if you have built a contact network in your organization, and you have basically built up this network to make sure that whatever your day-to-day activities are, whatever your tasks are, you are able to complete it. Right? It adds efficiency in your current role. Now, this is what we call operational networking, because this is something which is required for you to do your current job efficiently. And 80% of people, they stop at this level, right? Just especially before this pandemic has begun, 80% of people used to stop at operational networking only. They think that, yes, I have a very good network in the organization. I know what is happening in which department. I know what is happening in other department. I can easily get the work done. So I'm very strong in networking. But this is just the basic level of networking. Then comes the second level, that is personal networking. So in operational networking, there will be people in your network. There will be people from the same company, maybe different departments, maybe different offices, different locations, but in the same company. When we talk about personal networking, here people are mostly external. The people with whom you are connected at a personal level. right? Personal and professional development. It can be both for professional development, that you are connecting with people in the same city, in the same industry, in the same sector, or you are getting connected with people who have the same kind of personal interest, right? Now, this networking is important because it has a future orientation. So you are connected to people from the same industry. You are connected to people from the same sector or same kind of domain. So you are in HR, you are connected with people who are in HR. So it actually gives you more, you can say, a more accessibility to people who are working in the same area. So this is the next level of networking, that is personal networking. And in this, the people are mostly from outside the organization. The third level is strategic networking, which only few people are doing. Strategic networking. The strategic networking is the networking that you do for future, right? So you are getting connected with people who are in your area, who are very superior, who are very experienced. So you, as of now, you don't need that to be contacted to contact with that person. You don't need, or you cannot even contact, and you are not even sure that whether that person is going to respond to you or not. But you follow that person, and maybe in future you can get some guidance from that person. Or sometimes you just learn by looking at what others are doing. So you are not directly contacting that person, you're not talking to that person, but you have people who are very influential in your field, who could be your role models, who have lived a journey that you are living. So if they are sharing their experiences, if they are sharing something, if they are conducting certain sessions, you are attending, and you can get so much of knowledge and expertise. So maybe even if you are just listening to the mistakes that they have made, you can learn so many things, that these are the things that I should not repeat, at least. So you can learn from others. This is what strategic networking is, which you do for long term. Here the contacts could be internal, contacts could be external, but here the future orientation is there, right? So in strategic networking, it's very important for all of us to get into this type of networking. So do not stop yourself. My purpose of sharing this piece of knowledge with you is, do not stop yourself only at operational networking. Try to move to personal networking, try to move to strategic networking. Maybe sometimes you have to give a small favor, you have to just do something, some small information you have to share with someone, and you're not getting anything, any return as of now. But by this, you are building up your relationship for future. So maybe in future that relationship can pay you back. So try to move when you're doing networking. If you want to be an effective leader, try to move more toward strategic networking. Try to align yourself, try to link yourself with people who have lived a very informative, a very good and enriched life, enriched with experiences. Just try to learn from their life, from their journeys. That's very important. The last dimension, or the last approach, is having a positive leadership. Positive leadership is when you see the positivity even in the tree of negativity. That is what positivity is. So when we talk about the situation, many industries are badly hit by the COVID-19. Many people have lost their job, but at the same time, many who have lost their job, I have seen them starting something of their own. So maybe they have been thinking for past so many years that they have to start something, but it was difficult for them to come out of their comfort zone, that I have to leave my job. Why should I leave my job? But now that they don't have jobs, so they don't have any other option. So either they have to be drowned or they have to learn swimming. So they are opting to learn swimming, to learn how to swim out of this problem. So positive leadership is that leadership in which, among the challenges, you can see the opportunity in that, right? If we talk about a bell curve, a normal distribution curve, so most of the leaders, they are average leaders. They fall in the middle, the middle area of that curve. Very few are extremely negative, very bad, and there will be very few who are extremely good and extremely positive, who do not give up, who do not quit, who don't give up. But try to be in that right tail of that leadership bell curve. Try to be that leader, try to be that individual who is ready to take the opportunity. What will happen? You will fail, right? You will fail. But if you're not doing anything, you have already accepted your failure. So why not to do and then fail? There are chances, at least there are chances that you might succeed as well. So in this scenario also, in this pandemic situation also, try to find out how you can do value addition. What are the things that you want to develop? Do not waste this time. Do not just sit back and do not wait for things to go back. Trust me, things are never going back to that normal. Okay? Things are going further. So prepare yourself, utilize this time and prepare yourself. Brush up, build up your leadership capacity, build up your skills, and prepare yourself for the takeoff. It like it involves taking up courses. I'm really happy and I really appreciate people who are taking up various courses, who are learning something, who are developing. Because right now it's not about spending. You know, earlier we used to think that we are taking up courses and we are spending money. Right now, I would say, I have done. Mayur Chaudhary, can you please just mute? Thank you so much, dear. Thank you so much. Uh, so even I'm learning so many new things because I'm utilizing this time. Similarly, you can also do the same thing. Try to learn whatever interest you have. Try to build up your profile, your knowledge, not only for the sake of getting the certifications, but for the sake of getting knowledge and building up your profile. That is what is important right now. Because this is something, whatever investment you are doing on yourself right now, that is going to decide how competent you will be in future. So do not just wait and watch the game. Prepare yourself and decide. You have to write your own game in future. So decide that the things are not bad. Just you have to prepare yourself. So it's very important that if you talk about leadership, learn about different leadership models, learn about different researches that have been done. Learn the contingent leadership styles. Learn about leadership. This is going to help you a lot in future. Not only leadership, take up other courses also. Take variety of courses. The future is going to be people oriented. It is going to be knowledge based for sure. It is going to be technology oriented. So try to get into these fields. Nowadays, it's not important to be in one field, in one area, an expert of one area. You need to have an amalgamation of different areas and different expertise. So the more variety of knowledge you have, the more competent you will be. So positive leadership is when you have the positivity in you, when you have the confidence that yes, I can swim in this challenging time. I will be able to come out of it. You have confidence in yourself, and you will come out of it, right? You will find that you will be among very few who actually dare to confront the challenge. So you will become a very influential person and a very good leader. So this was from my side. I would just like to summarize certain things that should be there if you try to learn or you want to be a good leader right now. Mindfulness, whatever you are doing, whatever you are learning, learn with the mindfulness. It's a full mind, full dedication, full focus, whatever you are learning. Positive effect, what positive impact that is going to be on you. So do not just look for what investments I'm doing right now. I'm investing my time, I'm investing my money. But at the same time, I'm going to reap the results in the future. Be hopeful, have confidence. Self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is when you have the confidence, yes, I can do it. I can do it. So that I can do it approach is very important. That is something which makes you really influential. Locus of control. Locus of control is how you are controlled. Whether you are controlled, who is having the remote control of your reactions and your behavior? Is it you or someone else outside? So do not give your remote control to someone else. Do not let others guide your life or lead your life. Okay, control your life. Control your own life. Decide what you want to do. Be focused. Set a goal for yourself. Set a goal. Try to break down that goal into small and short term objectives. And make sure that every day talk to yourself, and every day make sure that you are taking one small step towards that goal. Emotionally stable. It's very important to be emotionally stable. Set high expectation, but do not set very high expectation. Set high expectation from yourself. Small, just make small goals for yourself and pursue them. Value your followers is very important, because do not judge your followers. Do not categorize your follower. Anyone who is following you is important, no matter whether that person is a child, a student, a professional, an experienced person. Doesn't matter. He is from your department, from your team, not from your department, outside. Whosoever is following you is important for you. So value each and every follower of yours. Have self-determination. Try to resolve conflicts. If there are any conflicts, any problems, take initiative. Always take initiative to solve the conflict. If you are able to solve the conflict, you will become you. So whenever there is a conflict, whenever there is a problem, try to solve that problem. And moreover, the desire and willingness to develop others. Because a leader, the role of a leader is a role full of responsibility. You are not here to command and to direct others. You are here to develop others. People, they work for people. That's a very, very important point I want to highlight, that people work for people. They don't work for organization. People work for people. This is the reason why a top performer, just because his boss has changed, his performance decline. Why? The person is having the same experience, he is having the same mindset, he is having the same knowledge, same skills, everything is same. Why the performance declines? Because the boss has changed. So people, they work for people. Remember this thing. Your subordinates, your followers are working for you. They are not working for the organization. So it's you who is going to decide their performance. It's you who has the responsibility to develop your followers. Always be trustworthy, maintain your credibility, and develop yourself. Continuously develop yourself. Develop yourself on the skills that people want and expect from you. That is where the good leadership comes into action. So now I would like to take up the questions. Okay, before that, I just want to tell you one thing. I've been in UAE for quite some years now, and I conduct many courses on HR leadership and HR related concepts, quality related concepts. I conduct many courses, but now since we were in contact with this Digi Saksham, so we've decided to launch certain programs also in India, where you people can get connected to me. So I will be the person, I will be the resource person who will be conducting these programs. So basically, I've designed 2 programs for you guys. If you want to take it up, you can. If you want to register for this, you can register for this. The first program is a short duration program, which will be for 3 days, total 6 hours. And it will talk about the basic leadership, like those who doesn't have any background of management and they don't know about what leadership is. It's always good that you have a basic concept or basic knowledge about leadership, because actually you have a point that, okay, this is where I have to develop myself. So it will talk about different qualities of a leader. What qualities do you have? It's like a self-assessment kind of thing. So what qualities that you have, what qualities that you should develop. If you want to develop, how will you develop those qualities? It will talk about different leadership styles, how to switch leadership styles in different conditions, which leadership style is good for which situation, different leadership models, and different case studies. So basically, it will be knowledge plus full of activities, cases, and full of the experiential based learning. It will be. The second program is a full-fledged long program, which is 8 weeks, total 24 hours. So it will be a detailed program wherein different areas, because I was telling you that nowadays it's very important that we link leadership to different areas, to diversified fields. So this comprises of 8 modules. Module 1 will be leadership and high performance work system. So how you develop high performance work system is a relatively new concept, and how you can develop high performance work system in your organization through your leadership. And if you want to develop that, what kind of leadership you should have, what kind of leadership you have to develop in order to get a high performance work system in your organization. So this is something like for those who are like who want to develop themselves for long term. So this is going to be an investment for them for to be competent in future and to remain competent, because these are the things that if you learn once, then you will be able to implement it throughout your life. And no matter in which organization you go or in which organization you join, these things remain valid for organization, because these things doesn't depend upon the sector or the organization. Second module will talk about leadership for effective visioning and employee engagement. The third module will talk about effective decision making, how leadership and effective decision making are linked. So as I told, that this is not only leadership, not only the conventional topic, but all upcoming topics and upcoming you can say areas wherein we are getting a link. I'm trying to establish a link between different areas, different topics, different fields with leadership. Fourth module will talk about team dynamics, leadership and team dynamics, how the team dynamics can be enhanced through leadership. Module 5 talks about power to influence and lead. So what thing you should have, what qualities you should have to become a very good influencer. Module 6 will talk about change, if you want to lead the change effectively. Module 7 will talk about diversity, complexity, and challenges, how to master them. And module 8 will talk about be an effective contingent leader. So the methodology for this, the pedagogy for this course will be modules, that will presentation, it will be live session. So it will not be the recorded session, it will be a live session. So it will be interactive. You can ask me questions. I will be explaining you concepts. I will be giving you examples. I will be conducting exercises, because we will be having a small batch size. So that will be different activities. We will be conducting different activities. We will be discussing various case studies wherein you can learn how people have implemented these things and these practices and how they have actually developed, right? So that means completely experiential based learning will be there. There will be lots of discussion. There will be people from different areas, from different maybe from different countries also, because normally the batches that I take here, the people are from various countries, various nationalities. So these courses, they emerge out to be very good, very interactive, and very informative. People from different sectors, from different across the hierarchy. So there are certain people who are really sitting at very high top positions. So you will get to learn a lot from these interactive courses. So this is going to be very interactive. There will be small exercises also, so that I can see that whether you are getting whatever we are discussing or not, or you are able to implement it or not. One approach will be in this course will be that whatever we are learning, right, we will discuss how you can implement it at your work, because that is what is important. So it will be like a one-to-one, you can say consultancy kind of thing, that whatever we are discussing, whatever we are learning, how you can implement that. So I will be designing certain activities. This is how I conduct here. I have certain activities, and while conducting those activities, we actually see how a particular thing can be implemented in my organization, in the role that I'm doing, or on me. How can I develop certain skills? What is my level on a particular skill, and what I have to do to develop my skill? So these are the programs. You can get the details if you want, and if you feel like, you can enroll in it. So now I will be taking up the questions. Now, there is one question asked by Rakesh Mehrotra. People elect their leaders in parliament and state assembly. In your opinion, what are the attributes leading to vote in favor of a specific candidate? Do the elected leaders qualify on criteria described by? See, when we are talking about this, we are not talking. See, I don't want to bring this politics stuff here, because it is like, especially if I talk about politics, there have been many kind of discussions that whether these political leaders, they are qualified enough or no, not. There should be some criteria on the qualification as well. And most of the time, it is like whatever option you have available. So you are not deciding the options. You're not deciding the option. Being people, you are just whatever options are available. You're just choosing out of them, right? So you actually you have the freedom to choose the leader, but at the same time, that freedom is limited. So you can choose from 5, you can choose from 10. So it is just like you have limited freedom, but it seems as if you have the liberty or you have the freedom to choose. So whatever the pool you have, see, if you want to pick up chits, right? If you have 10 chits in the ball, you can pick up only from those 10 chits, isn't it? So this is what happens there. So I really don't want to comment on this because definitely if you are asking about my personal opinion, definitely I would say that very qualified, very educated leaders should be there in the parliament and should be leading, because those are the people who can see the different perspectives, who can bring about different perspectives. So education, in my view, education is very important because it opens up your mind and you can see various things together, how things are integrating together. But that doesn't mean that if the person is not educated, the person cannot be a good leader. See, leadership is something not you are born with. Leaders are made. You can, you even if you're not educated, you can become a very good leader by your own experiences, by the things that you are learning. It all depends upon what you are, what is your goal, what is your mindset, what is your intention, and what is your keenness to learn. So even if you are not educated, you can be a good leader. So definitely there can be people ruling the country, or there can be people, there can be many startups also. See, there can be many startup companies wherein people are not very educated. They have started the business, they have that zeal to learn, and they have done wonderful job.
Agree,
So it
agree.
is leadership.
Shadman, very
Yeah.
much agree.
Thank you so much. Kirti Vasan has asked, hi ma'am, how can I balance my work between my management and workers field? Sorry, Kirti, can you just tell me what question? I'm not able to understand your question. How can I balance my work between my management and workers field? Is it like you are, on one hand, you are accountable to the management, on the other hand, you are dealing with the workers? Is it something like this?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, so that is what the role of a manager is, Kirti, right? That is what the role of a manager. A role of a manager is very, very critical, because the manager is a connecting pin between the management and the worker. So this is what you have to learn, because all the things that are coming from the top, you have to implement that. But at the same time, what relations you share with the top management, and at the same time, what relations do you share with your workers? So if you have trust, if you are able to develop that rapport and trust with your people, you will make decisions which are for their good, and they will follow you, they will be with you. So first of all, there should not be any conflict, there should not be any trust related issues between you and your team. That is very important. You have to ensure that you are able to build that rapport and that trust with your workers. You have that credibility. We talked a lot about credibility, so you have that credibility that you have developed, and you are living that credibility every day. That is very important. And at the same time, that credibility should also be with the top management. So never surrender yourself for anything. I would say always have a say. Always have a say. If you feel that there is something which the management is saying, but it's not good for your team, have the courage to say that. It's not that fighting with the top management, but you should always have a better approach to put forward your point. Whenever you want to put forward your point, put forward with a proper reasoning, with a logic. Do not outrightly say this is not going to work. Bring a logic. Tell a logic. Say a logic. Present a logic that it is not going to work, and why it is not going to work, and if it is not going to work, then how it is going to impact the company, the organization. And also, if you're contradicting something, any order that is coming from the top management, if you are trying to if you want to contradict that, always be ready with an alternative approach. Can we do it in a different way? Can we do this instead of this? So basically, it's all about rapport building. If you have such a crucial role, it's very important for you to first build up a good rapport and trust with the management as well as with the employee. That is important. Otherwise, you will be crushed between the two. Seema has asked a question. If a leader is not ready to listen anything, then being a team member, what can I do? Now, why the leader is not ready to listen? First of all, if someone is not listening to you, there must be a reason for that, especially your boss. If your boss is not listening to you, there must be a reason behind that. Is it a ego clash? Is it that the boss is someone that he feels that whatever he knows is the best, like he is the ultimate knowledge bearer, and there could not be any good idea coming from the team members? So first analyze what the situation is. If someone is not listening to you, what is the reason? Whether the problem is with the relationship, whether the problem is with the work system, whether the problem is with the person, or whether the problem is with you, right? If the problem is with you, then try to improve that. Try to improve, like, because you have asked a very open-ended question. If there is any particular situation, then you can get connected with me, right? Like, this is the scenario, so what should I do? Then I will be able to guide you better. But here I would say, if someone is not listening to you, there should always be alternate method. If it is related to work, you can go on discussing based on reasoning. You can go on discussing based on logic. If something related to work, right? If there is something like the person is creating some personal problems for you, then you have to select the alternative, and you have to make the decision whether you will be able to work with the person or not. If you find there are personal conflicts, if you find there are value based conflicts, then it's better you change the department or you change the job. Because see, never compromise with your peace of mind for the job. Any one organization, this is what I always try to try to emphasize, that the one organization is not end of the world. So be in that organization all the time, the things, and try your best. First, try your best to get the things improved. But still, if the things are not improving, it's always better to have another alternative. It's always suggested, do not let the situations eat up your peace of mind, because that is going to create stress on you. So if someone is not listening to you, try to first resolve it. Try to first find out the reason behind it. If things can get resolved, well and good. If you want to take certain initiatives, take the initiatives to get things resolved. Improve the relationship, improve the things. Still, if it's not working out, not a big deal. Try to come out of it. Because you cannot change a person beyond a limit. You are not here to change the leaders beyond a limit. You will work hard to change the leader, and after that, he will leave. Someone else will come. So you should be very clear to what extent you have to put your efforts. Definitely put your efforts first to improve the thing, but still, if the things are not improving, then you have to choose another path. You have to choose another option. You cannot end up your fighting with the same thing for the entire life. So you have to be very practical in this. You have to be very practical, but keep it as a learning. If you are feeling bad that your leader is not listening to you, make sure that when you are leading a team, you should never ever do the same thing to your followers. So always learn from the good people also, from the bad people also. That's important. If there are tenured people than you in the team, then how should we handle such teammates? Snehalata, can you just ask your question? Unmute yourself and ask your question. I'm not able to figure it out. What do you want to ask?
Actually, I am handling a team, but there are few people who are more tenured than me in the organization. So
That means they are
there are,
senior to you.
yeah, they're senior to me in tenure in that company itself.
Okay, okay.
So I'm just asking, how do we handle such teammates, or how do you provide coaching to them, or how do you lead such people?
It's a very difficult situation. Actually, I can understand. I can relate to that. It's a very difficult situation, and many times I have also faced the same situation, right? So, in this, I would just say that these situations can easily be handled by building up a rapport. Because, if someone is facing this challenge, or are having this mindset that I am more senior than you in this organization, why should I consider you as my team leader? Why should I accept you as my boss? I'm senior to you. I know more than you. So in that case, by building up rapport, and by proving self-worth, that means if you want others to accept you as a leader, you have to show them certain things that you have better than them, right? A similar situation I faced when I taught my first batch, right? When I was teaching MBA courses and I taught my first batch, there are many students who, because I was just I just completed my MBA and got into academic. So in my first batch, there were many students who were like 5 years, 7 years elder to me. So for them, it was very difficult to accept me as the teacher, because they were saying that what will she teach? teach me. I have much more experience than her. So that time you can prove yourself. You can prove your worth only through your knowledge, your expertise, the way you are handling situations. So build up rapport. Do not try to control them. Do not try to control them. The more you try to control them, the more rebellious they become. Build up a rapport. Build up a relationship, good relationship. Try to reach out to them. Try to reach out to them. Sometimes accept them. At times, because definitely if they have spent more years in the organization, they definitely know more than you. They definitely know more than you about the organization, about the systems. And there is nothing bad in that. Someone has worked in one company for 10 years, and if someone is joining the company, someone else is joining the company, definitely the person who has already spent 10 years in the organization know in and out of many things in the organization. So there is no harm. At times, you can do one thing, try to involve them if you want certain information. Although if you already have certain information, but try to ask them. Try to ask them, what would you suggest? Ask their suggestion. Value them. If you value them, if you value their experience, and if you value that their experience can help you to have a good team performance, overall team performance, you will feel connected. So value them. Do not try to control them. Value them. Involve them. At times, value them. Value to their suggestion. Recognize their suggestions. Give value that yes, you have more experience in the organization. You know it better with how to do this. You know better how can we plan this. Involve in the planning. Involve them in the meetings. Involve them in planning for the team. And just implement this approach. And at the same time, when they are stuck somewhere, go and help them. Go and help them rather than finding their mistakes and proving that even if they have spent so many years in the organization, you know it better than them. Try to help them if they are stuck. See, sometimes you have to command people, but most of the time you have to win people. You can lead people because you are a manager, you are CEO, you are director. You can order people and you can lead people. But in that way, you can lead people only till the time you are in that position. After that, people will not like you. So if you really want to be a good leader, you have to win people. Learn to win people. Help them, cooperate with them. Try to win people. And definitely, I'm sure if you will implement this approach, this is going to work. Have I answered your question?
Yes, but can I ask a follow-up question on that?
Yes, you can.
Thank you. So, one thing what I wanted to ask was if that same person, like if I want to point out that he has made some mistake or he has made some glitch, so how do we put forward? Because usually, it's not like it doesn't sound blaming, but still there are times that these things backfire. So, is there any particular way where we can put such things forward?
Yeah, help him. Help him by not highlighting his mistake as much as you can. Try to protect him. You're going to win him for the lifetime. Try to protect him. When he is not expecting you to protect him, to cover him up, try to help him and try to cover him up. Do not highlight his mistake. If you can handle it at your end. So you have to win people. The only approach is you have to win people. When they are expecting the least uh, appreciation or least coordination and cooperation from you, provide that cooperation. They will be surprised to see, and then they will get to know that okay, this person has this thing which I don't have. This person could have like simply and very easily could have highlighted my mistake, and I would have there very serious consequences. But this person opted to help me and to protect me. So try to protect him, try to win over his trust, and try to help your people. Even if they are more experienced, involve them, cooperate and collaborate with them. You cannot end up fighting with your team members, right? Because ultimately, being a team leader, you need their support. So you have to get along with them. You have to accept if they have something good, you have to accept. if they are making mistakes, try to protect them as much as you can. But it's not like hiding their mistake, but rectifying. I'm not saying that hide their mistake and do not report it to management, but if you can rectify it, if you can somehow reduce the consequences on that person, try to do it. Because they are at that position to maybe to let you down. But you are in that position, you have a bigger responsibility to help them to grow. Right? So you have to be very honest with your responsibility, and sooner or later you will be sharing very this reputation, and you will be sharing very good relationship with your team. So do that.
Thank you.
Most how to effectively earn leadership if majority of members are more experienced than me. See, experience, age, these are not related to leaders. Right? Have you heard the story of Chandragupta Maurya? He became a leader at what age? So you cannot say that if someone is more in age, if someone has more years of experience, so I cannot be a leader. You should have that guts and you should have those qualities which people accept you as a leader. That is what is important. And this is the reason why I'm doing all these sessions and I'm doing all these courses, because people sometimes they don't know what to focus upon. And let me tell you one thing, leadership is not something that you have to go out and you have to acquire from outside. All these things are already there in us. It's just that they just went unnoticed. We don't know our hidden potential. We don't know what qualities do we have. So most of you already have those qualities. It's just that you have to identify those qualities. You just need a proper guidance, a proper direction to develop yourself. Leaders are not like, they are not made by they are not the stars and they have not fallen from the heaven. Everyone has built up their own self. Everyone has built up their own qualities. They have built up their own personality. So this is what you have to do. You have to identify your qualities, your talent, and this is what makes you a good leader. So that has nothing to do with the age. That has nothing to do with the experience. Experience adds or you learn so many things from experience, but at the end you cannot say that this is the criteria that the most experiential person or the person who has maximum number of years of experience will be the leader. That's not the criteria. How harsh should be a leader? That depends upon the followers. Sometimes you have to be strict. Sometimes with some followers, with some teammates, you have to be strict because it's just like a carrot or a stick. So few people work for carrot, few people won't work until you have a stick. So that is what the module 8 in this course. That is what it is. How to be an effective contingent leader. Contingency approach is that contingency approach says that how you handle the situation. That is what contingency approach is. So what will be my situation? How harsh, how soft, how friendly, how dominating I will be, that will depend upon what kind of people I have in my team. So we cannot say that it's a single directional approach that I have to implement this approach with everyone. If you have 5 members, you have to have 5 different approaches. If you're a manager, you are working with managers in other departments, you are working in alliance with the managers in the other departments, you have to have a different approach for each and every person, for each and every manager. You have to have a different approach. With the senior manager, you have to have different approach. With your supervisor, you have to have a different approach. With your subordinates, a different approach. So we cannot say that a leader has to be a very rude all the time. No, not necessary, but at times you have to. Sometimes you have to exercise your power to control people or to avoid people from making mistakes. So sometimes you have to give some punishment, but you should not be like, if someone has committed a mistake for the first time, like I follow a rule that I never condemn anyone, I never scold anyone on the first mistake. If you are making a mistake for the first time, I will help you my best to correct it, to rectify it. But make sure that you are not making the same mistake again. So that is what is important. So you have to actually build up this culture in your team. So people automatically, you will find that people are becoming more responsible for their work. People are becoming more responsible for their responsibilities, for their tasks. So next time, if they are sending a report to you, they themselves check it twice before sending it to you. So this repo actually you have to build. So being a leader, I would say that always have build that confidence in your team members that they should know that yes, our leader is there to stand by our side, and we are here standing by him. So this is the relationship that you have to share with your subordinates. This is what you have to share. So there's no need to be rude all the time, but that depends upon the situation. There is no hard and fast rule for that. There's one question: how to improve communication skills? See, whether communication skills or any other skills, whatever you want to improve, keep doing that. If you want to improve your communication skill, communicate as much as you can. If you want to improve your decision making skills, study that, do that, make decisions, fail, learn, make, fail, learn. So whatever skills you want to develop, practice. That is the only reason, that is the only way of developing any skill. Practice that. You have fear of public speaking, practice public speaking. Let you stumble. The more you stumble, the more firmly you will get up again. That's very important. Never be aware, like afraid of the failure. What will happen if you will fail in one thing? You are going to do any other thing. It's not going to make your life, isn't it? So whatever skills you want to learn, practice. That is the only way out. Nobody can. There's no medicine kind of thing, or you just take one spoon every day and you will be very good in communication skills or any other skill. There's nothing, no therapy like this. Whatever you want to do, whatever you want to excel, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. Do it, correct it. Don't correct yourself. Do it, rectify yourself. Learn from your mistakes. That is only. Thank you so much, and thank you so much, Atul and Digi Saksham, for creating this platform and they're organizing this session, and it's very well organized. I really like to thank you.